Hey guys, it's Rich Boy J here, back again with another video, and this is going to be an overview of my modification of the 75060 UCS Slave 1 into a Jango Fett version of the Slave 1. Altogether, this mod took about 400 pieces. Some of them were swap outs of other colors, and other ones were just new pieces added all together. As far as I know, there weren't any really aesthetic changes on the ship in terms of the design or shape of it, but rather just the color and some of the aging of the ship. So that made the modification of this set very simple. I simply took the LDD file of the original set, swapped out some of the colors, made it match up to some reference material that I found online, and then I was good to go. If you would like to build this model on your own, I'm going to include an LDD file of all the pieces you need to add to the original set, as well as a finished model of the Jango Fett version of the Slave 1, so you can know exactly where those pieces go. So make sure you check the description for all of those details if you want one of these bad boys on your own. This modification took around $40 or $50 for me to collect all the pieces, which was not too bad, so it's not a particularly expensive mod, especially if you have the Slave 1 to start out with. If you are going to, however, get a new Slave 1 to do this, then it'll cost you around $250 total US. Starting off with the most obvious change was the bottom of the ship turning from that kind of dark red color to this blue and light gray color. This was a pretty straightforward transformation. Most of the pieces did exist in dark blue. However, the biggest thing I was not able to do were these two pieces right here. You can see it's on both sides. Those don't exist in dark blue, so I had to elect to put them on the model in dark gray instead. Fortunately, there was already kind of a dark gray section in here, so it doesn't look out of place if that's dark gray and not dark blue. You can see on the area that the walkway into the ship, most of the colors changed from dark red to a light gray color. This was done to match up with most of the reference materials I found online. This is a rather tricky build to do, only because there is no real consistent reference material. In the movie, we only really ever see this ship in kind of darkly lit environments, whether it be on Camino, where it's pretty much nighttime and raining, or it be in the asteroid belts where it's just dark because they're in outer space. But I tried my best to compile as many reference materials as I possibly could and find the things that were most consistent among them in order to create this model. Other than changing the bottom of the ship from dark red to dark blue, the main body is what suffered the most amount of color changes. You can see that most of it was changed from that kind of sand green color and the light gray to a white color. This was mostly done to reflect the fact that this ship is in a newer state than when we see it in Empire Strikes Back, where the Slave 1, obviously when Boba gets it, is much more aged. The color has changed quite a bit. I imagine he probably painted a lot of it to get to that green color, but originally it is a rather clean looking ship, and there is a lot of white in there and some kind of light gray weathering on the sides of it. So that's why you'll see most of it is white, and then there's some light gray in there to represent the weathering. And finally, up top, you can see that I mixed in a lot of white and light gray pieces together to once again replicate the weathering that you see in a lot of the reference pictures, and I think that it actually came out pretty well. I was really concerned that the blending of these colors wouldn't work very well, but once I got this thing fully built together, I think that it looks pretty cool and looks close to what I've seen in the reference pictures. One of the other modifications I did was added some jumper plates on the seats where they are sitting to make sure that Jango and Boba both have a seat in the ship. You can see that I also swapped out the Boba Fett guns on either side of the ship for Jango Fett's dual pistols, so that worked out pretty well that there were two spots to hold those. The back of the ship remained mostly unchanged, although you can see some of the dark blue sections poking out from the sides. In regards to the greebling and things like that, the color pretty much remained the same. I have, however, been told that the engines should actually be an orange color instead of a blue, so that might be something that I should do in the future, or if you plan on building this, that you can do to swap it out to make it more screen accurate. I did also want to show you guys that this model does scale very well with that Delta 7 mock that I also put on my page. So if you guys want to have some sort of asteroid belt mock, or you want to build a Camino mock, I would definitely recommend including both of these ships in it. They both look awesome and they work very well together. I've had a bunch of fun just kind of leaving that thing up on the stand and having this one kind of swoosh and fly in front of it. And finally, here's a side-by-side with the original and my modified model. Honestly, it's pretty surreal for me that I have both of these completed in front of me. The UCS Slave 1 is, I feel, a classic UCS set, and one that will probably appreciate in value whenever LEGO decides to retire it. With that being said, the fact that I have essentially two of them and two different versions that we see in the movies is very exciting for me, and I can't wait to display these things together right next to each other. There were a few stickers that I neglected to use in the Jango Fett version for a couple of reasons. The main one being that the colors didn't match up. For example, these stickers up top wouldn't have made sense because they had the dark red in them as well. But then some of them were also omitted in order to preserve the fact that the set is, or preserve the fact that the Jango Fett model is a bit newer. For example, here you can see that there's some weathering, and it essentially looks like either the gray is wearing off or it used to be yellow and the yellow hasn't completely worn off. And I neglected to use that sticker over here just to make it look a little bit more clean. The same goes for this sticker right here. You can see that some of the green is wearing off of the model, and I didn't put it there once again just to make the Jango Fett version look a bit newer, and I think that it works out. You can see that, you know, the Jango Fett version looks a bit more clean, firstly because it's white, and then secondly because there isn't nearly as much variation in color and weathering in as we see in the Boba Fett version. So that's going to finish up the video, guys. I really hope that you enjoyed this little overview. Like I said earlier, if you want to build one of these for your own collection, I included an LDD file with the parts that you would need to add to a pre-existing Slave 1, as well as a fully built LDD file so you can see exactly where those parts need to go, and you can make your own Jango Fett UCS Slave 1. If you like what I do, go ahead and support this video by hitting the like button, support the channel by hitting the subscribe button, and I'll be back again very soon.